if you still going to these churches and still being around the people that's still tied into the religion and the traditions of men, you gotta be careful when they're talking about catching the Holy Spirit and they're acting like they catching the Holy Spirit, because you gotta try the spirits. Is it the Ruach Haqodesh that they're catching, and that when they start running around church and hollering and screaming and talking in tongues, what they call it, and they all sound the same, they all sound the exact same when they're speaking that in the tongues, they're saying that's the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Haqodesh from Yahuwah. You got to try the spirits. You got to be vigilant. You got to watch. Yochanan, John 16, verse 13. Howbeit, when he, the Ruach Emeth, that's the spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. The spirit of truth will lead you to all truth. So now let's go. If people are catching the Holy Spirit, it should be the same as when they did it the first time. When you're speaking in tongues, it should be the same as when they did it the first time. They got something that's called the law of first. The first time something appears in the Bible, the first time it appears in the Word, it should be consistent throughout. The first time it appears in the Word, it sets the tone for the rest of the time it appears in the Word and in life. So that's the Word is our guide. We go by the Word. So when we go and see the first time that that people caught the Holy Spirit and start speaking in tongues, what was the description? So go to Ma'asim, which is Acts chapter 2, starting at verse 5. And there dwelling at Yerushalayim, Yahudim, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came. Let me read this out the way. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. They were speaking in tongues, and they heard them speaking in their own. It's a language. Tongues ain't just no random sound. It ain't no just it ain't no random. It might sound random, but it shouldn't. Everybody shouldn't be sounding the exact same. If it sounded the exact same amongst everybody that's saying they catching the Holy Spirit, it's not the Holy Spirit then. That's a different kind of spirit. That's not the Ruach Haqodesh. That's not the spirit of from Yahuwah. It's not how it works. They said because that every man heard them speak in his own language where they were from. Verse 7, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galilean? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? So it should be an interpretation. It should be a language. You might, when the Holy Spirit comes upon you and you're speaking in tongues, you're speaking in a tongue that you don't know. You're speaking in a tongue of another language. You're speaking another language. The Holy Spirit speaking in tongues is you're speaking another language. You're not making random sounds. It's not something random. It's an actual language, a foreign language you might be speaking. Well, it is a foreign. That's what the Holy Spirit, that's what speaking in tongues is. Not something like what they be doing in churches. What they be doing in churches, it all sounds the exact same. Not only that, where it don't describe nowhere where they were running around here. I'm just scrolling through. This is still talking about, this Acts chapter 2. This is when they caught the Holy Spirit and they were speaking in tongues and stuff. They weren't hollering. They don't say that they was hollering and they was running around and acting wild. They weren't being wild. Cause that's not gifts of the Spirit. The gifts of the Holy Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit, is not acting wild and running around and no. So that's why you got to try the spirits, and that's why the Spirit of truth will lead you to all truth. So let's look at the description of the fruits of the Spirit. If you go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, this describes the fruit of the Spirit. So if somebody's catching the Holy Spirit, the Ruach Haqodesh, if that's what they're saying that it is, then it should line up with this description. This is what Yahuwah defines as the fruits of the Spirit. So if it's not this, if this ain't what's being displayed, then it's not the Ruach Haqodesh, it's not the Holy Spirit. It's a different spirit. That's why you got to try the spirits. So let's look at what the fruits of the Spirit are. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law put in place. Look at the last one. It says temperance. So when people in church talking about they caught the Holy Spirit and they start hollering and they go running around and they doing the same, making that same noise, that's not temperance. Temperance is like a self-moderation, like a self-control, self-moderation. You know, you're balanced. You even kill. You're not one way all the way over here, all the way over here. You're tempered. That's why it's the saying you lose your temper. People in church, when they get the Holy Spirit, they lose their temper. They get out of temperance. They get out of self-control, moderate. They start going crazy, going wild. They run around the church. They do the dance. They start doing what they call shouting. Start doing the shouting dance, and they do that same language. Now, that's a different spirit, because that's not how Galatians describes the Holy Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit. So you gotta try the spirits. You gotta come up out of the strong delusion, and we gotta try the spirits. You gotta line everything up with the word. If it's not in the word, it ain't it. It's not of Yahuwah. We gotta come into the truth. We gotta be in the spirit, and you gotta let the spirit of truth lead you to all truth. You gotta let the Ruach Haqodesh lead you. You gotta be led by the Ruach. You gotta try the spirits against the fruit, the definition of the fruits of the Ruach. You gotta go back to Acts and look at how they did it. What was the description of when they caught the Holy Spirit? When they started speaking in tongues, what was the description? How did they describe it? What was they doing? And it should be the same, because Yahuwah does not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and forever. He's the same. So you gotta come up out of the false, come up out of Babylon, come up out of the strong delusion, come up out of the traditions of men, and come to the real.